This is Blind Like Me.
Hello, everyone.
Interviews, information, and reviews related to living with a vision disability. Your host is Tim Black. Tim has been visually impaired since birth. He's been in radio for 30 years and also hosts the podcast Inside Today's Country. Tim has never let his lack of vision stand in his way.
Welcome to another edition of Blind Like Me. It is Tim, and it's been a while since we've done one of these, but you know what? We always try to find some unique people to chat to around our big world, which seems to be becoming smaller and smaller all the time. And I'm so happy to welcome to the podcast another young lady that I found watching TikTok, because apparently a lot of time I do that nowadays. It's Katelyn Wackerman, all the way from North Carolina. Is that right?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So this is the premise, obviously, behind what we do here on Blind Like Me is we try to find interesting people to share their stories, find out what their lives are like, find out what their experiences are like. And I saw your stuff online, and I liked your attitude right from the get-go. I was like, this girl is positive. She's newly blind, that I could kind of tell. And prior to recording here, we were finding out some more details about you. This is something within the last couple of years that's happened to you. So let's start there. This is new to you, being somebody who is visually impaired. What's life been like since, life has changed?
Oh, yeah. It was a struggle in the beginning. Like I said before when we were chatting, I was not having it. I didn't go in public. I was super depressed. I was mad at myself. I was mad at the world. I was just angry all the time. And I think the biggest thing for me was just relearning everything I had already learned in life, because I was 26 years old when I lost my vision. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up with, living a normal life, and I could drive and work a microwave and a washing machine, and all of that changed. It's the little things that you don't even think about every day, using stairs or just being in public in general, knowing if people are looking at you, talking to you or not. So it was a huge adjustment. And in the beginning, I was mad. I was very angry. I was upset, and I was depressed. And then one day I woke up and I just was like, this can't be my life forever. Something's got to change. Something's got to give, because I can't be this miserable forever. Mm-hmm. But the reason I did lose my vision is because I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I've had diabetes since I was 8. And when I was about 17 years old, I lost my health insurance, and I started working in restaurants when I was 15. And that was basically my full-time job. Mm-hmm. And so the restaurants that I worked in did not offer me health care. And so I was buying insulin off the streets because I could not afford it from the pharmaceutical companies.
Wow. And that's actually one of the videos that I think you were addressing. You were talking about that in one of your TikToks.
Yes.
That's how you were getting your insulin. That to me, that just blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it was a struggle. I mean, there were definitely times where I would go a couple of days without getting my insulin, and I would end up in the emergency room. I've had my episodes. Mm-hmm. I kept very quiet about it. I didn't act like I had diabetes, that's another whole part of my story that I think is really huge. I just didn't take care of myself, on top of the fact that I couldn't get my insulin. I just kind of gave up. Mm-hmm. And to be clear, I did, I applied for government assistance. I've applied for the free clinics that are in the area, and I was denied everything. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that had to do with being a server and a bartender, because on paper, nowadays you have to claim everything you make, and it looked like I made too much money. But in reality, when you have rent to pay and a car payment and groceries, you don't have the money for it. And the insulin here, at least in the United States, is outrageously expensive. It doesn't even make any sense how much. I mean, it was about $600 just to pick up, like a regular I use the insulin pens, but then I had to switch to vials at some point, and you can't get them unless you have a prescription. So I would have to check myself into the emergency room and get a doctor to write me a one-time prescription, and then go to CVS and pick it up. And it was at some point it would be $1,200.
Oh my God.
So I just couldn't afford it because I take 2 different types of insulin. So collectively it would be roughly about $1,200
per
and
month.
then I just rationed it.
Is that per month?
Yes.
Holy cow.
But I would ration it because I wouldn't get the correct amount.
Right.
And then at some point I just couldn't afford it at all. So I just, I was very lucky. I would, by the grace of God, run into other diabetics that had either extra insulin laying around, or they would just do anything that they could to just help me out. And so that's what I did for 7 years. Man,
that to me, I'm sorry, that just blows my mind. I can't even, fathom that coming from where we are here in Canada. It's just, a completely different story,
Right.
And it's just, wow, it's $1,200. I mean, that's people's, as you say, that's people's rent.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's people's rent. So let's explore this a little bit where you, 26 is when you lost your eyesight. Did you start to see symptoms of that early on prior to losing your sight then?
Here and there. I would notice at night things would be really difficult to see in general. And working in bars, the lighting is already dim.
Right.
So I noticed that, didn't really think too much about it. I did get a pair of glasses at one point just to help out when I would drive, especially at night. Like I said, couldn't afford anything to go to the doctor or do any of that anyway. So I think the biggest thing for me, and I think it's just big in my generation in general, is that we all think we're invincible or that we think it couldn't happen to us, but it did. And it happened to me overnight. Like one day I could just see and I went to work and everything was fine. And I woke up and my retina was completely detached in my right eye.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. And then about a month and a half after that is when I went completely blind in my left eye. And I was awake for that one. So
really,
huge panic attack. Yes.
Wow. Walk me through. What was that like?
So I thought when it happened, I thought there was something in my eye or it just got really foggy. So I'm rubbing my eye and I'm like washing my eyes out. And I go to pick up my phone and I had already enlarged the font and everything on it at that point. I had already gone through my first 2 eye surgeries. And I was getting the eye injections and laser surgery in my left eye because my doctors were really trying to save my left eye, but they did warn me, like, you were definitely going to go blind. Right. So, but, in the back of my head, I'm like, this isn't going to happen to me. I'm going to be able to regain my vision and things are going to be great and I can get back to life. And so when I went to go look at my phone that night, I had a panic attack and I called my mom and I'm like, we got to go to the emergency room. I can't see. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, nothing. I can't see anything. And so I remember going out, the nurse walked me out to the big eye charts that they have. Yeah. And everything was just white. I couldn't see anything. And so one of my doctors in the Charlotte area, I go to a company that is Charlotte Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat. And those doctors are amazing. They opened an office Sunday morning just for me to come in. And then we set up a surgery like a couple days later to get my left eye, save as much as they could of it. Right. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it was crazy. I've had 6 eye surgeries in about a year and a half.
Holy cow. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot.
That's a lot. What have you found now? I mean, you mentioned quickly there that, obviously this is life-altering, life-changing. You have now tried to retrain yourself on doing things. Obviously no more driving, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, let's keep me off the road.
Keep you off the road. But little things, you mentioned using the microwave and the washing machine. Have those things become a challenge for you?
Oh, absolutely. So in the beginning, it was so frustrating because it's something so simple. I would get a piece of mail and I couldn't read it. And that was a whole other thing, asking people to help me work my phone and read my messages. I just felt like I lost all privacy. And then I had to relearn, using the microwave. So in the beginning, before I got involved with, like the disability and all the programs around that help people that are disabled or blind. We would put Band-Aids on things to know where to turn the button or press the button, the on and off switch to things. My sisters came right into town. My older sister reorganized my closet from dark clothes to light clothes to sweatshirts to pants.
Right.
They helped me reorganize my bathroom to where, shampoo goes in one corner, conditioner in the other.
Right.
It's just tiny little things that you don't even think about. And in the beginning, I did not have my cane. So going in public was really hard for me. I would trip and fall, and it would be embarrassing. I wouldn't know if people were talking to me, if I needed to order something. And I would flip out. I would have a panic attack, and I would just throw a tantrum like a 4-year-old. And that's when I was like, I need to start isolating myself because this isn't right. I need to figure out how to maneuver around and figure out life this way, because if this is what it's going to be, it can't be miserable. I have to figure out a way to do all of this. So I started, reaching out, looking up the programs. And there's a place in Charlotte, the Metrolina Association for the Blind. They help out. I have a caseworker. So she came over and put the bump dots on the washing machine and the microwave and the dishwasher, all of that for me. The mobility and cane training, all of that. So, and like learning how to work technology. I've been in groups for people that are visually impaired. And so it's just learning different tricks. Honestly, it's just relearning what you've already learned. But I think I'm lucky and I'm blessed just because I have lived a good chunk of my life with vision. So I know what, a fork looks like. I know where the plates are in my house. I know where everything is. I think it's just staying organized, and it's really just like pushing yourself every single day. In the beginning, I gave up because I was a bartender for so long. I lived that lifestyle. I partied a lot. I drank a lot. I gave up all of that for a year and a half while I was going through my surgeries, which helped just emotionally, I had to emotionally get stable again. And it honestly, it saved my life going blind because I was headed down a really dark and bad path. So I feel like I have a very different perspective on life. And it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me, honestly.
Do you feel that you've been given another chance?
Absolutely. I should have died multiple times. Diabetes isn't a joke, and I took it as one. I didn't take it seriously. And I just feel like I'm not even super deserving of the chances that I've had. And that was another thing that changed my life. I had a very, very, very good friend I went to high school with, but we reconnected when I lost my vision. She had stage 4 cancer. And I would watch her get up every day and fight treatments and go to work and teach the 2nd grade class that she was teaching. And I just felt selfish. I was like, why is she so happy and okay? And I'm mad because I can't see of what I did to myself on top of obviously not being able to afford the insulin.
Right.
And so it really gave me a new perspective on life. And I'm like, I have to stop being so angry, and just be grateful for what I do have and the people that did come around for me and the patience everybody had with me. Just people taking time out of their day to take me to the grocery store is a big deal for me. And I had to learn how to be grateful for all of those things. So it gave me a very different perspective on life. And I feel like now I just see things in a very different way. I just feel like I live in a very different world than other people do. And I think it's kind of cool. And I think I'm blessed that way. So I'm not upset about any of it anymore. I actually kind of enjoy it. It's kind of fun.
It's one of the biggest challenges I think that we have as a human race. We don't like to ask for help. It's one of the things that we all like to be very, very independent. And when you're blind or visually impaired, it doesn't matter whatever disability that you have. Everybody likes to do things on their own. I'm one of those people. I've always done things on my own. And it still is a challenge, and my wife and my family will contest to this. I hate asking for help. It's one of the last things I like, I'll do it by myself first. But it's one of
Yes.
the things that you have to learn, and I commend you for learning how to ask for help, because I think it is one of the most important things to do. People are more than willing to help you when you ask for the help, and it really doesn't take a lot of time out of their day. If they're taking you to the grocery store or wherever you need to go,
Right.
it just ends up working out, right? And it's,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's easier for you, and you get spend some quality time with probably somebody you haven't seen for a while, or maybe a family member.
Right. Right. Yeah. Asking for help was very tough for me. That was probably one of the biggest things. Was I felt like I lost my independence, but in general, it was really my pride.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to really hold myself together and that's just all ego. And I had to really learn how just it's not even worth it. Like, and then I had to learn that other people wanted to help me.
Right.
Other people want to feel good too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about me. I know I can do things on my own. I'm very well aware of who I am as a human being and what I'm capable of. But if someone wants to help me out, absolutely. Why would I stop them?
Right.
Like they want to feel good too. So I let them.
What was it like for your, you could become the first blind bartender? I'm thinking there's a possibility for you. Don't throw that away. What were your work friends like? How did they react to you losing your sight?
Actually, that was a huge thing in the beginning. I didn't hear from most of the people that I surrounded myself with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them did not reach out. A lot of them did not. When I say a lot of them, 99.9%. I think when I say probably 5 people came through for me,
Mm-hmm.
that was it. Out of the so many people I was around all the
Sure.
time, just because, I bartended in the area that I grew up in.
Yep.
So it's people that I've seen my whole life, been around for years and years, partied with, served, all of that, worked with, and most of them did not reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really heartbreaking for me. It hurt a lot. And that was a huge part of my anger as well. I took a lot of my hurt and depression out in anger.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my best girlfriends never reached out to me. I still don't hear from them at all today.
Really? That's sad.
And well, I just think a lot of people don't know what to say. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that they don't know how to react.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that when I started getting the confidence and I had my cane to go out in public, there are a lot of people that get very weird around me. And
that goes on for years. Trust me.
I know. But for me now, it's hysterical. I'm like, that's really sad that people are scared of me.
Yep.
Or they just won't talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be at a restaurant and I'll go to order and the server will ask whoever I'm sitting with what I want. And I'll just chime in and I'm like, hey, my mouth still works. I got this. I'm going to order for myself.
Yeah.
But it really did show me, though, that there's a lot of people that I just don't think that they know how to react or how to respond around people that have a disability or that are just blind in general. And I feel like that's why a lot of people that are visually impaired do not go out often.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel comfortable.
It's very sad that here we are rolling into almost 2021 and we are still dealing with that. You're not the only person that I've ever heard say that. Right. The fact that you're sitting there and somebody else will talk on your behalf. No, I can still talk.
Right.
I just can't see you.
Right.
That's the whole thing. The people staring at you. That's my entire life. It has driven my family. I have 2 kids. It always amuses them when people will stare at my eyes, and then they'll stare back at them. So my biggest thing, and I kind of feel this is where you're going with this, is if you're curious, ask. There's nothing wrong with asking, because 99.9% of the time, the person who is blind or visually impaired, even if they're standing there with a cane or with a dog, they are more than happy to talk to you about the lack of their vision that they have.
Yes.
Right?
I would rather someone ask like, even if I mean, I do have friends, and if I meet their parents or other friends, they're like, what do you need from me? Do you want to hold my arm? Do you need this? What are you comfortable with?
Yep.
And they won't be scared to speak up. And I appreciate that. But I did, when I did get, I did have a hostess job right before COVID hit. It was my first job since losing my eyesight.
Okay.
And the reason I got the job is because I actually used to bartend for the company. So they trusted and knew, that I could do this job, and I knew that I could do it. So when I was doing that, I'm the first person when you walk into a restaurant. I'm the hostess. So
Sure.
you have to talk to me.
Yep.
And the children will talk to me all day long. The parents won't say anything.
Not a word. Nope.
The adults don't say anything.
The adults will be the ones who shy the children if they have the opportunity away from you. But if the children are there, allowed to be there by themselves, I agree. They'll talk to you 100%.
Oh yeah. And it was crazy to me. And the other employee, like the people that I worked with, my coworkers, they noticed it. They're like, it's really wild that adults just ignore you. They walk right past you. They just don't want to talk to you. But the kids will come up and say whatever they want. They'll ask a million questions, like, why do you have that cane? What does that do? What do you mean your eyes don't work? They look like they work. And and the parents allow them to ask those questions because the parents are curious themselves. Yep. The adults are curious themselves. And I really appreciate the kids doing that in front of their parents because they need to know that we're not going to bite you. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. Just ask. And I think it's wild to me that even nowadays, with all of the diseases and the things that do go on in the world, why are you so scared to be around a blind person? Like, what are you really so scared of? Why does it make you uncomfortable? I'm not uncomfortable at all. It's you that, it's the people that don't know or just have never been exposed to it. And I do understand, ignorance is a thing. And if they've never been around it, I understand. But don't treat us differently. Don't treat us like we can't hear you, or, we don't know that you're there. We know. It blows my mind.
It's very true. Somebody once told me the fact that you are visually impaired or you're blind, but you can't break us, so, you don't need to treat us with kid gloves, right?
Right.
We're human just like everybody else. We just can't see, which leads me to my next thing to talk to you a little bit about is obviously you had a hostess job prior to COVID. COVID has changed the entire world. Yes. And this is something that we have brought up in the past in other podcasts that I have talked to people, and that is finding employment. And that is something that we talked about briefly before we started here, and that is becoming more of a challenge for yourself. How are you dealing? Yes. How are you dealing with that? Because here's a vibrant 26-year-old young lady who obviously has got a good head on her shoulders now. She's been given a chance to, do life kind of over again, and you have sounds like it, an amazing outlook on life, and you're putting your foot in the right direction. But this whole employment thing again is becoming a challenge. Why?
Yeah. So in the beginning, like I said, I think it was ego, pride. For a while, I would go into an interview, and in my head now, I'm 28 years old, and I go into an interview for a part-time job at like a juice bar, for instance, knowing I can do it because I do all of that stuff at home alone. And I literally went into an interview, and the girl was like, you would be so perfect. You could run this store, but I can't hire you because you can't see. And me being the bold person I am, I'm like, you're not allowed to say that legally, right? And she's like, I didn't mean it in that way. And I'm like, I'm not going to get you in trouble, but you have to understand that I wouldn't have applied to this job if I knew I was incapable of doing that, because I just know that I wouldn't last here if I knew I couldn't do it.
Right.
And I was like, that's okay. Like, it's not a big deal. I completely understand. And I just left. And then you have to think of the jobs that that you are capable of doing. But a lot of people, it's going through that interview process. I feel like I'm very confident. And when I walk in somewhere, or if I talk to people, I make sure that people understand that I am not only coherent and I can hear everything that they're saying, but like I'm very capable of doing. I think people are just so unaware. They just think that we are so incapable of anything. And I could play the blind card. And I've said that before, especially in my videos on TikTok. I could totally play the blind card. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I do. Like if my sisters come into town and they want to clean up or just I'm like,
sure.
I'm like, go for it. You want to make dinner tonight? Have at it, you know?
Yeah,
do it.
All of a sudden I can't see where stuff is. I have no idea where that pile of laundry is, but go ahead and take care of it.
Right. I love it. Like I do it. I do it to my parents. I'm like, oh, you guys are going to serve me. Wonderful. But in general, like they need to understand that we are so capable if they give us the right training and if they have patience. And then I sell myself in interviews. I'm like, this would look really great for the face of your company if you had a disabled person who's obviously visually impaired working and people can come in and see that. And like that, it would look really, really great for you guys. And then I always throw in there, I don't really know how it works in every state or just in general. And, but I know that because I am on disability, I always throw that in there. And I'm like, you get a tax break for hiring me. And so like, I just kind of throw in the benefits of hiring someone that's visually impaired.
Well, it becomes the fact that you're basically including everyone in your company, right? There are companies out there that, you see it all the time on websites when you're applying, that they don't discriminate against, anybody with a disability. But now when you see that, the hurdle is getting to that next step. Sure, you're saying that, but is your company truly, following through with that? I know in Canada, they definitely are trying to do that. Not so much, obviously, in the U.S., but again, it's still a hurdle, and it is, and I think it will continue to be. And we have to get past that hurdle because there are so many people like yourself who are capable of doing jobs. And again, you hit the nail right on the head there. Give me the training, give me the time and the patience. I'll do the job for you. Right. And I'll do it 110% better than probably you ever expect than anybody will. And I think more companies have to realize that. And it doesn't matter what disability you have. They have to realize that people with disabilities of all kinds, their hearts are there, their knowledge is there. You just got to give them the opportunities. And our companies around the world aren't doing that nearly enough. And we have to get over this.
I feel like that's why it's so important for me to get my story out there. And I just, I want to become a motivational speaker and make a name and a brand for myself. Because there needs to be awareness about all of this. And people, like I want to show my confidence to other people can have the confidence and be able to go into interviews and really try and apply. But also people with vision or people that are doing the hiring, they need to hear both sides of the story. We understand that you don't want to hire us because you think we're incapable, but let us show you what we are capable of. Give us that chance.
Yep. I totally agree with you. Let's talk technology a little bit because it's kind of something that we do kind of talk about here on this podcast. And you're newly blind, so how have you found technology?
So I don't even watch TV at all. Can't figure it out. And I know that there's all the fancy things. You can tell it to turn on and stuff. I have no idea.
Katelyn, come on.
I have literally never been like a technology person ever. Never owned a laptop, none of that stuff. So
what kind of phone are you using?
I am using the iPhone. I have the 10 Max, the big one. Okay.
So, and have you explored voiceover and all that stuff yet?
Yes. Hate voiceover. Hate it. Oh my God.
I have never met anybody else like you who's same as I. Can't stand voiceover.
I can't stand it. It's so annoying. I'm like, stop talking. I got the gist. I got it, But I I have a couple friends, and I went to the phone store where they set it up to where my font is pretty enlarged. I do have parts of, it's not even just like voiceover. What is it? It speaks to you. It can read you out loud, whatever you need if you tell it to. So I use that very often.
Right.
And then I actually, because I started putting my story out there on TikTok, I've had a couple people reach out and explain how to use my phone better because they also use a magnifying glass. And so I usually take the screenshots on certain apps you cannot zoom in on to read things or have the screen reader on. So they showed me different ways on how to like zoom in and, you know, double tap with the 3 fingers. And so I think that's really awesome as well. Still playing with that.
Okay.
Obviously very confused because me and the technology thing are just not best friends, which is fine. I can't be best friends with everyone.
You'll get over the hurdle. Trust me. The triple tap with 3 fingers works really, really well. And you've already obviously got it set up that, you drag your 3 fingers from the top and it'll speak to whatever's on the screen for you. Right? So that works out. I agree with you. The voiceover, I always am blown away by people who use voiceover all the time. I have tried it, and I think it's partly because I can see faster than I can get the phone to do what I want it to do.
Yes.
And that's what just, there should be a halfway point.
Right.
That's what like, you know what I mean? There should be I'm 50% blind. Okay, I need a 50% voiceover thing. That's
I feel... Right. And I feel like that's how my phone is set up. It's like a halfway.
There you go.
My font is enormous that you can probably read it from about a mile away. But also, like I said, on the apps that I can't zoom in to read the font, that's why I have the magnifying glass, which I'm lucky that I do have that vision. I guess if I was completely blind, I would have to use the voiceover. And that's just a whole other patient type of story that I would not be. I mean, it would take probably weeks for me to really love it. Right.
Now, you said that you connected with an organization that are helping you. What was that organization again?
The Metrolina Association for the Blind is what we have here in the Charlotte area. Okay.
And what have they been helping you do?
So I've done, it's like a group class that we've done, but we had to do it over Zoom because of COVID.
Obviously.
And so we did more like, things that we've just talked about, shared our story, things like that. But then they've given us options and opportunities to reach out or what to use, what programs to use, what different apps work for people that are visually impaired. They also offer classes that, they can teach you how to work technology. They also come out and, like I said, they help you with home things if you need the bump dots. They also offer the mobility and cane training. Right. They just have so many different options, and I like them because they are a nonprofit. From what I understand, I believe they're a nonprofit. I don't want to be like quoted on that, but fine. From what I understand, they are. Okay. And so I've become very close with one of the girls that works there, and she's super, super inspiring. She has a very similar story to mine. But she teaches a lot of these classes, and she is pretty like almost all the way blind. She is very visually impaired, but she does not care. She went back to college, got her master's, moved to this state all by herself, got this job as a visually impaired woman. And she did all of this blind, and now she's married and all of that. But I mean, she is a huge inspiration for me. I'm like, if she can do all of this, we all can do it. That's awesome. Yeah, really great company. They're amazing.
What was it like when, from someone who has been able to see before, all of a sudden now you're using a cane? What was the experience like that for the first time?
In the beginning, I hated it. I knew all the attention I was getting, and I did not want it. It was the unwanted attention, the stares, everyone whispering when you walk by. I couldn't stand it. And then, of course, accidentally hitting everything and everyone in my way. But now I may or may not take advantage of that. We don't have to talk about that, though. But in the beginning, it was tough. Didn't love it. Now I appreciate it because I feel like my cane is super, super helpful to me, but I think it's also really, really helpful to others around me so they know I cannot see you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I love it now. If I didn't have my cane, it would just be a whole different story.
Mm-hmm. Have you thought about even venturing down the way of Braille at all?
I've thought about it.
Mm-hmm. That's a big step.
It is. I'm very confused so what I understand, there's only like six bumps that you use in Braille.
Mm-hmm.
And
then there's combinations and so forth.
Right.
I don't Braille myself, so I've never Brailled, and it's one of those things where I again am totally impressed by people who Braille all the time.
Same.
But at my age, I don't know if I'm ready to do that or not. So
I don't know if it's the patience thing for me, or if I like that I can still use my magnifying glass, but I do know, like, I've been in hotels. And I've been in places where I'm like, or like going to the bathroom in a restaurant. It would be nice to know what room number I'm going into, or if this is the women's or the men's room. I mean, that would be really nice. So I don't have to ask everybody to come with me everywhere I need to go.
Right.
So it would be definitely something I should look into. It's a matter of like, do I want to do it?
Yeah. Well, it might even be beneficial, even the basics, right? Even the basics, but again, that's a whole other level. I think you've got it pretty good. The nice thing now too is that most of the signs, you're probably finding that you're becoming more of a tactile person. You're touching things more, right?
Oh, I touch everything.
Yeah, which is really hard in the COVID world where we're not supposed to touch everything.
Right.
My son made that observation the other day. He goes, I totally forget that you touch everything to be able to feel what it, sense of what it is, and I can't touch things right now, which is just crazy. But the neat thing is that when you go to those washrooms, a lot of them now have the signs are tactile, where you can actually put your hand on them, right, and feel with your finger, if it's men or women or whatever like that. So little tricks like that. I'm going to suggest, and I don't know if you have this on your phone yet, there's an app called Seeing AI. And I know,
yes.
You know that app? Okay, good.
Yes.
Because that was, it's a highly recommended app. It works really, really well. So if you haven't used it yet, I would recommend you downloading that for your phone. That will help you immensely. Okay?
Yeah, I definitely need to do that and look into it.
And there's another one, and we've actually had them on this show before. It's called Be My Eyes.
I have Be My Eyes.
There you go.
Love Be My Eyes.
Awesome.
So cool.
Good. And they don't sponsor any of these throws or anything like that. Those are just two apps that I know are really, really good. And can help you, as you progress in life. Katelyn, if you had a message for the sighted world, what would it be?
Ooh, the sighted world. I think honestly, just to not be so either scared or maybe just to be a little more open-minded. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it would be. If you have questions, ask. We're not going to bite you, like I said. And just to be a little more open-minded about everything and just anyone else in the world. I think a lot of, I feel bad for sighted people. They're still stuck on the surface. And a lot of people that are visually impaired are not. We're deeper than that. Mm-hmm. And we're not as scared to either show our emotions, express them. And I feel like that's something that I need in my life is more emotions and feeling and things like that. And I think people that have vision, they don't even realize we just see the world from a very different perspective. And I feel bad for people that do have vision because they don't get to see what we see.
I like that.
Or feel what we feel.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Well done. Where do we find you on TikTok?
My name is just Katelyn Wackerman on TikTok, and it's all together, one word. It's KatelynWackerman. And I'm on there, and I'm trying to grow my channel, and I'm putting out my story and all the things that come along with it. And I'm just hoping to motivate people and inspire and push people to be the best versions of themselves, and just to not be scared to be you.
Katelyn Wackerman, thanks very much for hanging out with us on Blind Like Me. I am very, very impressed by you. You are definitely a bright light in this dark world that we've been having right now, and I wish nothing but the success for you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and I had a great time.
Thanks for listening to Blind Like Me. If you have a comment or suggestion about future casts, drop us an email to blindlikeme@outlook.com. Blind Like Me is a TimBlackOnAir.com production.